Good day, viewers. Good day, students. Good day, learners of all walks of life. This video, I'm sure, we solve some problems or difficulties encountered by some of our learners. After watching this video, I implore you to sit down, listen to it very well, and follow what I'm saying and doing. Okay, I believe that you're ready. So please encourage yourself and others to, watch this video. It will inform you, it will guide you, it will educate you, it will motivate you towards your exams and furthermore. So we are going to treat past questions, objectives in economics for a previous year before now. So we have 50 questions in all. We're going to give you the answers and probably explain some of the reasons why the other ones are not correct and why the one you're choosing is very correct. So you should take note of them. So please take a keen interest in what I'm going to do from now. And we'll start. Number one of all this is, it says that the study of economics is mainly concerned with how to what? Economics as a subject, its main concern for its study is what? Is to equip you with what? Number one, see, sometimes you need to properly analyze your question before you can see the answer clearly. When you don't read the question properly, you have challenges sometimes in picking out the right option as the answer. So when you read some questions, read it again with the intention to understand what it is asking from you. If you don't do this, you may end up failing that option or failing that question. So when you read, don't rush into the answers when you're not so very sure about what the question is asking. So you can read it again with the intention, with the purpose, right? You can slowly read it one more time to get the actual interest of that question from you. Now it says, studying economics is mainly concerned with what? A, is it to rank individuals once given the abundant resources? Ranking of individuals ones given the abundant. If that's the case, you don't have to study economics because you don't need to choose what you want to use your money or your resources for. All right? A, B says, make choices when resources are inadequate. Then maybe that's the correct one, but let's look at the other options. C says, satisfy every member of all societies. Wow, is that true? That can be true, but let's finish up with the options. Number D says, to produce, it mainly concerned with how to produce all the goods needed by everyone. Wonderful. Is it possible to do that? Now, from all these options we have A to D, only one is the best option or the most fitting to this question. It says the study of economics is mainly concerned with how. Economics defined as the study of human behavior as a relationship with ends and scarce means that is put into alternative uses. All right? So, what are we not saying here? You want something, you have needs, and you have scarcity in terms of the resources you want to use to meet that your need. What do? You do what? You make choices when you don't have adequate resources to meet all your needs. All right? So the answer is what? B. Number two questions requires us to understand warehousing and give answers to that. It says, warehousing is an economic activity that falls under what? Warehousing as an aid to trade. What does it produce? Actually, no tangible product, but it offers an aid to trading. So it's what? It's service-based, isn't it? So yes, we know that already. So now the question says, warehousing is an economic activity that falls under which production level? A, is it tertiary production? Is it intermediate production? Is it secondary production? Is it primary production? Primary has to do with what? Extraction of raw materials from nature. That's primary. Secondary has to do with what? Conversion of these raw materials towards consumables, finished goods. When intermediate production means transformation of goods from one form to another, all right? So, but we'll talk about tertiary production, deals with what? It deals with service-based production, all right? People that render different kind of services, like the doctors, the auto technicians, right? Like the barbers, okay, the musicians, and so on. Of course, warehousing are also in that classification. So our answer is what? A, tertiary what? Production. Our question 3 concerns itself with capital as one of those factors of production, which you must try to understand in-depthly, of course. It says, which of the following items is not classified as working capital? You need to understand what working capital is all about before you can give an answer to this question. All right? Working capital is that capital that is used by a business to run its daily affairs, okay? To carry out daily what? Economic activities or productivity. So yes, and it's obtained by deducting current liabilities from what? Current assets, okay? So if you have seen this, it means that there are more liquid assets than not, okay? So we look at it, look at the options we have here. A says equipment, B says fuel, C says money to pay wages, and D says semi-finished goods. From this definition and what we have discussed, then our answer should be what? Our answer is equipment. This is not an example, or it's not classified as working capital, okay? The next question, number 4, requires us to understand economic system and give answers to questions about it. Now it says an economic system is mainly concerned with what? What do you understand the economic system to be? Remember, I mentioned these topics in the introduction to the examination preparation that I gave. It has to do with the topics, regular topics in Waec. So you can see that I've already mentioned some of the topics already in this question you are seeing for last year, 2023. Okay, it says an economic system is mainly concerned with dash. With what? A says handling situations of abundant resources, while B says studying the relationship between ends and means. C says establishment of economic laws, and D says the allocation of scarce resources between alternative ends. What does economic system mainly concern itself with? It is mainly concerned with what? How to efficiently and effectively allocate these scarce resources between alternative ends. All right? It talks about ownership of productive factors. Is it the government that owns it? Is it the private sector that owns it? How do they go about meeting the needs of the economy? So that's what the economic system tries to establish. Allocation of what? Resources. So our answer is what? D. And we move to the next one. Now they say the marks obtained here, this is about basic tools of economic what? Analysis. All right? So the marks obtained here by 9 students in a class, tests are recorded below. The test conducted in a class, marks obtained by 9 students are recorded below, and they said, what is the median mark of this course? What is the median mark of this course? You know how to do this? It's simple. Just arrange these figures either in ascending order or descending order, and whenever these numbers are even, you divide the 2 middle numbers and get the average. Add it up and get the average. That will give you your answer. Or if they are odd numbers, you choose the one at the center as your median mark. So in this case, we have numbers like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But you see, some appeared more than once. So we have 5, we have 6, we have 7 3 times, we have 8 twice, and we have 9 twice. So if you stretch it out, you have 9 scores. So if you put it together, you have 5, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9. That means the median mark will be what? Will be 7. So because 7 falls at the center of 9 observations. So our answer is what? A. All right. So the question number 6 says The demand for a factor input. Factor what? Input. Talking about what? Demand and then factors of production in together. It's trying to test your knowledge on these two topics. Now, see the demand for factor of production as a result of the demand for inputs is known as what? When an item is required because of what it will do for you, that's what I'm saying here. Because of what? As a result of the demand for its output. There's a particular output that is needed, but something needs to be acquired before such output can be obtained. So, such a demand is known as what? All right? This is types of demand. So, when you demand for factor input as a result of a particular output you want to achieve, what is it called? It is called what? Is it complementary demand? Is it competitive demand? Is it derived demand? Or is it market demand? In this case, let's review a little bit about types of demand. We have 4 types of demand, which is what? We have complementary demand or joint demand. We have competitive demand or supplementary demand. We also have derived demand, which is of course. Then we also have composite demand. In this case, we only have 3 here. So one of them is not a type of demand, but that shouldn't be your confusion, right? You're being asked about the type of demand, so don't get confused. In this case, when a demand is derived, okay. Sorry, let me start from the beginning. Complementary demand does with the demand for 2 items or more that can be put together to satisfy a particular need. That's what we call the complementary or joint demand. Competitive demand in this case is a demand for 2 or more products that can satisfy individually a particular need. In this case, they compete for the consumer's purchase or money. So these 2 or more products can meet the same need individually. It means that maybe say Coca-Cola and Pepsi are 2 products that are competing for the customer's purchases. So in this case, whichever one you buy stands to be the victorious one in the pursuit of your money. So in this case, competitive demand is what? The demand for 2 or more products that can satisfy the same need individually. Now, that is not the answer because we are not talking about that. The answer here is what? Is derived demand, because it says that this factor of production is demanded because of what it's going to do to get a particular output achieved. So in this case, we're talking about what? Derived demand, because you will need a teacher to produce a student who can give you A in all your subjects. In this case, teacher is labor, and what? Labor is a derived demand. Okay? So, of course, your money that you have in your hand, you don't chew it to say you have eaten or spent your money. Use it to buy something else that you need. So that's what? Another derived demand. When you go to school or you do any particular course, you get certified for it. That certificate is what? It's also a derived demand, because you can't chew it up to say you have actually acquired it or used it up. No. You use it to acquire other values as well. So that's what? A derived demand. So yes, that's our answer. So we have what? Derived demand. The next option we have, or question we have here, is number 7. It says, if the demand for a commodity remains constant as prices increases, the commodity is said to be what? Here we're talking about what? Elasticity of demand, right? And probably supply. So try to also read up this topic so that you get acquainted with it. We have 5 coefficients of demand elasticity. We have number 1, in no particular order, let me just put it this way. We have elastic or fairly elastic demand. This is for products that when the price changes, the change in demand will be more than what? The change in price. Okay, we have it more than proportionate change in demand compared to what? Change in price. That gives you elastic demand or fairly elastic demand. We have unitary elastic demand, which has to do with that. In this case, a change in price brings about a proportionate change in quantity what? Demanded. So the change in price is equal to what? Change in demand. You can say that a 50% change in price brings about a 50% change in what? In quantity demanded. That's what? Unitary elastic demand. Then we have inelastic demand or fairly inelastic demand. In this case, a change in price brings about a lesser change in quantity demanded or less than proportionate change in quantity demanded. So it means that the change in price is higher than what? Change in quantity demanded. So that's what? A demand that is inelastic. You have perfectly elastic demand, which is in this case a small change in price will result to an astronomical change in quantity demanded, an extreme change in quantity demanded, an infinite change in quantity demanded. So this is how it is. So in this case, you do not touch the price of the product. If you do, you either sell at a loss or you need to produce more and then consumers will buy everything from you. So in this case, that's what we call perfectly elastic demand curve. For the last one, we have what's called perfectly or infinitely inelastic demand, where no matter the change in price, demand will remain what? Unchanged, constant, zero. So we can also call it what? Zero elastic demand. So in this case, they're asking you if the demand for a commodity remains the same as prices increases. The commodity is said to be what? You already know the answer, which is what? Answer is D, perfectly what? Inelastic demand. All right, number 8 says when more of tax on a product is borne by the buyer than the seller, the commodity involved has what? Okay, you see, same elasticity consideration. In this case, we need to use it to understand taxation. All right, we have what we call incidence of tax, which is the tax burden. It is borne by either the consumer or the seller, depending on the kind of product involved. So when demand is established about the product, you can know who actually is bearing the burden of tax more than the other, or who bears it completely alone. So it depends. Based on this analysis of elasticities, you will know more. So we have, with your knowledge of changing demand and supply, and putting tax into it, and elasticity into it, you'll be able to see who bears more tax than the other. That's the line this question is trying to toe here. I hope it's not difficult for you. So they say when more of a tax on a product that is borne by the buyer than the seller, the commodity involved has what? Is it elastic demand? Is it fairly inelastic demand? Is it perfectly elastic demand, or is it perfectly inelastic demand? Now let me tell you something. This question, the answer is easy to understand. Products, when a consumer bears more tax burden than the seller, it means that that product is more inelastic than elastic. You see why? A product is inelastic when a change in price is greater than the change in demand. All right. So consumers will bear more tax burden because producers that produces product will easily push more of the tax burden into the prices of the product for consumers to pay. So that's where consumers will bear more burden of tax in this case. So yes, the answer here is what? Is fairly inelastic demand. All right. So I believe this little explanation has helped you to understand a little bit more about this. Okay, when we have another lesson, a video that discusses this topic into detail, you have more on that. Now, a fall in the price of a normal commodity which has elastic demand will result in what? Elastic demand again. Can you see that? This topic is very, very essential for your success in Waec, because this question can come in several other ways. As you can see now, they are now bringing types of goods here, all right? You have normal goods, all right? Added price to it. You talk about elasticity here and then demand as well. So 4 individual topics woven into one question, which is easy for, of course, for you to understand. So is it a fall in the price of normal good? All right? Normal good is a type of good that is essential in nature, that people live on it on a daily basis. Without it, there'll be problem with life, okay? So it's an essential commodity. So as the price rises, less is purchased. As the price falls, more is purchased. I think I've answered the question right now. So a fall in the price of a normal good commodity which has elastic demand will result in what? A fall in quantity demanded. Is that true? Not true. An increase in revenue. Maybe true. Let's check the other ones. C, a fall in demand. I'm not sure. When the price falls, demand will rise. A decrease in revenue. No, because when price falls, there'll be increase in demand, and the seller will increase in revenue. So our answer is what? B, an increase in what? Revenue. Thank you. So question 10, it says the supply of light could be met using a candle, a lantern, and gas lamp. These things can give us light individually, but also there's a point where they can come into play to do what? To combine to give light as a single unit. So this is an example of what? Testing your knowledge on what? Types of supply and how they apply economically. You see, demand and supply has come out here again. So what is the answer here? Complementary supply joint supply, composite supply, and abnormal supply are your options. Let's look at the question again. It says the supply of light. In this kind of discussion, there should be a principal need that is to be met. All right? So that is what will help you to understand the answer. The principal need here is what? Supply of light. You could use candle, you could use lantern, you could use gas lamp. But also, you can bring all of them together to give us light still. So, if you understand the types of supply very well, by now we should have seen your answer. Your answer is what? Your answer is composite supply. Why? Because in composite supply, it has to do with bundle of items that are bundled together to meet a particular need, that are supplied together to meet a particular need. All right? Two or more items supplied together to meet a particular need. That is what we call a composite supply. In this case, we have candle, we have lantern, we have gas lamp, all right, to give us what? Light. Light is the principal need, all right, the primary need in this whole picture. So to get light, you can use candle, you can use lantern, you can use gas lamp together to get what? Light. So that means it's a composite what? Supply. Why just supply is what? Is supply of item produced from what? The same source. All right. A piece of land, you can produce corn, maize, and so on. Whereby if you choose to produce one, the supply of the other one will be hampered or altered. That's what for joint supply is all about. Okay. So let's move ahead. Our answer is what? Our answer is composite supply. Okay. So we have petrol and kerosene are jointly obtained from crude oil. If the supply of petrol increases, what happens to the other one? If they are jointly obtained from crude oil and the supply of petrol increases, what will happen to kerosene supply? Is number one, A says the supply of kerosene will fall. Is that true? How will it fall? It won't fall. B says cost of crude oil production has increased. That does not refer, it has nothing to do with this particular question answer. C says supply of kerosene will rise. That should be the answer, but let's check the last option. The last option says supply of kerosene will remain unchanged. It's not possible. If you keep extracting kerosene and crude oil from one source, the more you produce of crude oil, the more you produce of kerosene. So in this case, our answer is what? Option C. The supply of kerosene will what? Will rise. Okay, so let's go ahead. Our next question says that if the government stops subsidy on cocoa production, the supply curve of cocoa will what? The stoppage of subsidy to cocoa production will increase cost of production. That's the first action that will happen. In fact, the fact that subsidy is taken away, the reaction or the outcome, the effect, first of all, will be that the cost of production of cocoa will rise. So if that happens, what happens afterwards? So the supply curve of what cocoa will do what? Is it will shift to the right, will become vertical, will shift to the left, or will remain unchanged? This has to do with your knowledge about changes in supply of goods and services. So how much do you know about this? We have two types of changes in supply, which is what? Increasing change in supply and decreasing what? Change in supply. Now, how do you understand these changes? When there's an increasing change in supply, it means that it's a rightward shift of your supply curve from the original position. That's what an increasing change. But a leftward shift means what? A decreasing change in supply from the original position. So also you can also see that at the same old price, more is supplied. That's what? An increase in supply. Or at the same old price, less is what? Supplied. That's a decrease in what? Supply. In this case, price did not change, but other factors will cause supply to drop. In this case, it's the removal of subsidy. That's government policy. All right? So take note of that. Now, what is the answer? Our answer is option C, which says a leftward shift of the supply curve. Because subsidy is removed, supply will shift what? Backwards or to the left. All right? So the next question here is question 13. It says, when the marginal utility from the consumption of a commodity X, that is MUX in brackets, is greater than the price of commodity X, that is PX, a rational consumer should do what? If you are a rational consumer and you see that the marginal utility you are obtaining from consuming whatever you're consuming is greater than the price you're paying for. In essence, you feel that that thing is cheap enough for you to buy even more. All right? That's what it means, that the price you're paying is less than proportionate to the enjoyment you're getting from that product you're consuming. So what does it mean? It means, what should you do as a rational consumer? I think you should say your answer by now, all right? Your answer will be what? Consume more of commodity X so that you can get to a point of equilibrium, all right? So what? You consume more of commodity what? X. Thank you. So that's option A. Question 14 says, when the demand for a commodity increases while supply remains unchanged. Demand and supply questions always around the corner. You can't avoid it. So I want you to dig in deep more on demand and supply. Answer all possible past questions on this topic. It will acquaint you with the ability to pass and pass well. All right? So when the demand for a commodity increases while supply remains unchanged, the equilibrium price and quantity will do what? Okay. This is another word, another knowledge on change in supply and demand as well. All right? As well as demand and supply. So, like I mentioned earlier on, a change in demand and supply is a shift of the supply and demand curve either to the right or to the left. A shift to the right is an increase in demand and supply. A shift to the left is a decrease in demand and supply. In this case, they said an increase, well, when the demand for a commodity increases, all right, okay, while supply is unchanged. If you draw that graph, you see that the supply curve is just one, and the demand curve, we have two curves tending towards the right. Okay, if you draw it practically wherever you're seated right now, take a pen and draw the skeletal L shape of a demand curve, okay, and strike your supply curve, upward sloping curve from bottom left to top right, and then draw a demand curve, a downward sloping curve from top left to bottom right across that supply curve. All right, if you've done that, do another one in front of the one you just drawn. You will see what? You will see that there's a shift to the right of the demand curve. And then if you draw a line of a price and quantity in tangency with those points of crisscross between demand and supply in those 2 points, you see that there will be an increase in what? In equilibrium price and quantity demanded. It's surprising? Just test it, you see. Try and do that. I've told you what to do. So go ahead and draw it. Okay, the what? The answer here is what? The answer here will be what? Is C, all right? Because there will be an increase in what? In demand and in equilibrium price and quantity what? Demanded. Okay, that's your answer. Question 15 says, the fixing of maximum price by government is mainly on what? The fixing of maximum prices by the government is mainly on what? When I was discussing the price determination, I told you there are two types of price determination, which is what? Price control by the government or price legislation, as well as what? Price mechanism or price system. In this case, we're talking about government price legislation. And there are two types of that. We have maximum price or price ceiling and minimum price or price floor. So these two are what they're looking at here. They're talking about maximum price. When the government fixes the maximum price, it tends to what? To protect the consumer from exploitation from what? Producers or sellers. So in this case, you know now already that the consumers are protected by what? Maximum price. This is set below the equilibrium price of the market, okay? So nobody is to sell above that price. If you do, the government will arrest you or prosecute you. So if this is done, it's mainly on what? It's mainly on selected essential goods because it's consumer related. They want the consumers to be able to enjoy their life and be able to afford to buy what they want, what they need in their daily living. So our answer is what? Our answer is D, all right, which is selected essential goods. Okay. This also what? Production, all right? I told you that this copy also comes out. You see that's this production as well. It says here, at what points on the total product curve shown below will marginal products be negative? At what point in the curves shown above, as you can see, this question, at what point between PQRS will marginal products be negative? Okay, something you must take note of about the marginal concepts. The marginals in any concept under consideration, whether it be total cost, whether it be cost, whether it be product or production, whether it be utility, whether it be revenue, or so. All the marginals are an incremental value to total value. So take note of that. So the marginals in most cases determine what the total value will be. So if it is total value is rising, it means that the marginal value is also was still positive. If the total value gets to its peak, marginal value becomes what? Negative, 0. And once the total value starts dropping, marginal value has become negative. So on this basis, let's look at it. Point arrow is the peak of total product. And after point arrow, the curve starts falling. So at point S, marginal revenue has become negative. So our answer in this case is what? Is D. Our next question is 17, and it says, a small-scale firm located within an industrial estate will enjoy what? Okay, firms that are located within other firms in a particular environment, especially an industrial estate, are going to benefit from one another. And such benefits, as it helps the firm to become better, to improve its productivity and expand in outputs and reducing costs, of course, is called economies of scale. So, what kind of economy of scale has a firm enjoyed or will enjoy? Is it government protection and funding? Is it technological and economies of scale? Is it financial economies of scale? Is it external economies of scale? That firm, that small firm in that industrial estate will only enjoy, in this scenario, an external economies of scale. And so it's going to tap from what the other firms are doing to improve its own activities, to make it better. That is what we call economies of external economies of scale. The answer is option C. Question 18 says, the total fixed cost curve is dash. The total fixed cost curve is dash. This is trying to find out if you understand the curves of the cost curves, how they are drawn and their positioning in a graph. So, is it vertical? Is it horizontal? Is it downward sloping? Is it upward sloping? How do you position the total fixed cost curve in a graph? It is supposed to be fixed, so there's no changing in value whether production is taking place or not, because it's total fixed cost. The cost that will never change no matter the level of output, that remains the same, that remains constant, is a it's a horizontal line, okay, from the costs vertical line. So it's horizontal to the vertical costs line. So our answer is option B. If a firm retrenches some of its factory workers, what will happen? A, its fixed costs will likely reduce or increase. B, its marginal costs may increase. C, its average costs may increase. D, variable costs will decline. Okay, if you talk about workers, factory workers, the amount to variable input, that is labor, as a factor of production. So for this particular reason, you can increase or decrease variable inputs called labor or workers here. So anytime such a case becomes the reality, it means that the variable factor will also reduce in value. In this case, variable cost will also what? Reduce or decline. So our answer is what? Our answer is option D. Okay, thank you. Then a monopolist may enjoy abnormal profit only if it's dash. A monopolist may enjoy abnormal profit only if it dash. Abnormal profits are profits that are made in the short run for the perfect market as well as the monopolist, The monopolist also does such in the long run as well. And so in this case, it's profit beyond the normal, all right? Something may happen for you to be in an opportunity to make abnormal profit in a short run or any time for the monopolist. So a case like that, when it comes up, what should we say? Is it that marginal costs exceed marginal revenue when that happens? Is it that demand curve is perfectly elastic in that case? Is it that the price exceeds average total cost at that moment in time? Or is it that the expenditure on advertisement increases? So let's see which of these conditions we allow the monopolist to enjoy abnormal profit. Okay, is it demand curve is perfectly elastic? No. Marginal cost exceeds marginal revenue, that would be a loss. Price exceeds average total cost. Price in this case represents average revenue. So when your average revenue is above your average total cost, average revenues, or in that case, you are making what? A profit, because profit is what? The difference between total cost and what? Total revenue. In this case, average and average gives you what? A profit still. So whenever the average revenue, which is price, exceeds average total cost, there's what? There is a profit made. In this case, the monopolist will make abnormal profit when price exceeds average total cost. That's option C. 21 says that the average revenue curve of a firm in a perfect market is the same as what? The average revenue curve of a firm in a perfect market has 2 to 3 other identities. It also refers to as the price of the market or market price. You can also call it the marginal revenue curve, as well as the demand curve of that same firm in a perfect market. And so from this angle, you can be able to pick out your answer. And so is it number one that says the supply curve of the firm? No, it's not the same as the supply curve. Is it the same as the demand curve? Yes, of course. The demand curve of the firm in the perfect market is the same as the average revenue curve, the same as the price of the market, the same as the marginal revenue curve of the firm in the perfect market. So our answer is option B. 22 says resources are pulled together for the mutual benefit of its members. Resources that are put together for the mutual benefit of its member, mainly in what? In a what? Is it in a joint stock company? Is it in a partnership? Is it in a private company? Is it in a cooperative society? So which of these business organizations represents the one whose main idea is to pull resources together to benefit their members? It's not a joint stock company, it's not partnership, it's not private limited company, but what? A cooperative society. They all come together to contribute money or capital for which they're going to use as a unit to acquire what will benefit each member accordingly. So yes, cooperative society is our answer, option D. A joint stock company, number 23 now. A joint stock company enjoys perpetual existence because of what? What is that particular thing that can make a joint stock company to be in perpetual existence, that is unending existence? Unending existence, that is continuously exist. When you read the question, most times you need to make sure that you read in a way that it will be clear to you, understand what the question wants to get from you. All right? So you can pick your answers easily. Now, in this case, option A says it is formed by a minimum of 7 members. Is that the reason why they enjoy perpetual existence? I don't think so. B, it is a corporate entity. C, its shares are easily. I'm sure they want to write easily transferable. That option is not complete. It's easily transferable. Is that the reason why they enjoy perpetual existence? D says there is a higher degree of specialization. So, which of them? The reason for this is that our answer actually is option B, because it says corporate existence. or entity. So why? This means that when a business comes into life, it is given a certification that makes it incorporated. Whenever a business has become incorporated, it assumes a legal personality, all right, a legal entity. It can stay on its own without the owner's interference. It can exist on its own. It can sue and also be sued. So this existence gives it perpetual existence. So the owners may die and the business might still be what? Existing. So that is why they can enjoy perpetual existence, because of what? Its corporate entity. Thank you. 24 says, consumers have access to a variety of goods through the activities of the dash. Yeah, which of these business outfits or activities ensures that consumers enjoy a variety of goods through its activities? Is it through the advertising agencies, wholesalers, retailers, mass media? For all these four options we have, only one can stock hundreds, if not thousands of varieties of goods in its store. The wholesaler does bulk breaking, so will not have enough space per se to stock every variety of goods that every customer will want to buy. But you see the retailer have, no matter how small the shop is, it will try to have 1-2 units of every kind of product that the customers are looking for. So, for this reason, our answer is option C, which says retailers. They are the ones that can provide numerous variety of goods for the customers to buy. 25. The rate of growth of population is what? The growth rate of a population is what? That's what it's trying to ask from you. The growth rate. Say the difference between birth rate and death rate. The birth rate less death rate plus net migration. Is it initial population plus number of births and net migration? Or is it the number of immigrants plus number of births? I think here, according to the population calculation, it is what? Birth rate less death rate plus net migration. That is immigration minus emigration. Right? Gives us net migration. So our answer is what? B. Question 26 says, the Malthusian theory of population is best illustrated when what is the case? When one of these is the case. A says, when both population and food supply increase at the same rate. While B says, when population increases much faster than food supply. C is that the size of the population and available resources are equal. While D is that when food supply increases much faster than population growth. Malthus was very concerned and worried about the rate at which the population of the world or the country in question was growing compared to the food supply. He says that food supply is growing in arithmetic progression, while population of the country is growing at a geometric progression. So is that it's multiplying itself against food supply. So in this case, here our answer is B. It said that population increases much faster than food supply. All right, so the next question is 27. Here it says the dependency ratio of a country is a dash. What actually determines the dependency ratio of a country? A, total active population who depend on government for survival. That shouldn't be the case. B, number of children who depend on their parents for survival. Of course, that's dependency, but no, that's not the correct one. C, the children and aged who rely on the active population for support. And then D says, people who are cared for by their extended families. Our answer is no other than what? C, that says population and dependency ratio is the number of children and aged people who rely on the active population for support. So that's our answer. 28. So when job vacancies are publicized, the government is mainly trying to solve the problem of what? One of these population types is what the government tries to solve when it advertises jobs. All right, it has intention to make sure that this kind of population is taken care of. Unemployment, sorry, is taken care of. Is it residual unemployment? No, this is by health challenges. Is it by frictional? Frictional has to do with the technological aspects. Or no, okay, yeah, of course, that's not it. That frictional unemployment is one type. Yes. Technological is another type, while cyclical has to do with mass unemployment. Technology has to do with the machines in use and the technique in production that is used. So it's not, government is interested in solving what we call frictional unemployment. Why? Because this kind of unemployment is the kind that happens when employed persons leave their jobs in search of another one. All right, within that time they don't have another one, they could be employed by the government or any such. So government have tried to fix frictional unemployment as well. The new early school leavers who want to be employed also fall into this kind of unemployment. So when they are advertised, they can employ them as well when they are fit or qualified to do so. So yes, government advertises to solve frictional unemployment, which happens when a worker leaves his job to find another one, or a newly graduated student or worker in the workforce is looking for a vacancy to fill in. So our answer is what? Is B. Thank you. Many workers are employed in the agricultural sector of developing countries. Many workers are employed in the agricultural sector of developing country because, why is this so? They practice mechanized system of farming. Is that true? Developing countries don't have the capacity to do that. They can only do it minimally. B, labor intensive method of production is mostly adopted in the developing countries. Is it C, wages in the sector is high? Wow. Then D, abnormal profits are made. The only reason why they can work in this sector is because of what? Labor intensive is mostly what? Adopted in that country, because they are not mechanized, they are not developed, they are not industrialized, so they don't have machines, so they use human labor to produce their outputs. So industries are sometimes located in areas which are not profitable, so as to do what? The reason why government will cite an industrial estate or locate industries in areas that are not developed is one major reason, or at least one of the major reasons is because of what? So that, is it A, that it can encourage rural urban migration? I don't think it's correct. B, is it so that it will be able to reap internal economies of scale? Or is it that it will be able to even out development, or for it to be able to bring about external economies of scale? The only reason for these options here is that the government does so that it can even out what? Development. Because if you take such an industry to rural areas or less developed areas, the workers and the company owners will begin to affect that environment possibly in a way that somehow people who work there want to live around and not get stuck in traffic or have challenges coming to work and so on. So they want to stay around that environment and begin to develop. Over time, you realize that such an industry or industrial estate will bring enormous development in that area. There will be light, there will be good road and housing and so on. Social life will begin to develop in that area over time. So that's the reason why government will cite or locate an industry or industries in areas that are not profitable. So one of the major factors that may not promote industrial development is what? Question 21. It says, one of the factors that may not promote industrial development is what? A, granting old firms tax exemptions. B, local firms entering into partnership with foreign firms. C, setting up industrial estates with modern amenities. D, granting capital to firms at reasonable interest rates. One of these options is a factor that may not promote industrial development. If you check it very well, as always said about labor, when labor becomes more richer, it supplies less effort to production. There will be reduction in the supply of labor. So when a company becomes more wealthier, it has less interest in what? In developing its productivity. It will become more complacent. So the answer is what? When a government grants old firms tax holiday, they keep more money back and they become much more relaxed in developing industrial-wise. 32 says, national income is calculated mainly to do what? Why is national income of a country calculated? Why would they want to calculate national income? What's the reason? One of these is a major reason why that is done. A says, to determine how income is to be shared. B, is it to help firms generate more funds? Is that the reason? C, is it to determine the level of sectoral performances? Or D, is it to determine aid to be received from other countries or nations? Which of these is the reason why governments carry out national income accounting? Our answer here is none other than what? To know how the economy has fared over time, sectorally. How each sector of the economy has actually what? Performed in contributing to the growth of the country's economy. That is why national income among this option is calculated. Question 33. To overcome the problem of double counting under the expenditure approach. To overcome the problem of double counting under the expenditure approach, what must be done? A, value-added method is used. B, only spending on final goods are considered. C, proper accounting standards must be used. D, spending on intermediate goods and inputs are considered. The word value added is representing what we call the output method. All right? The expenditure approach in this case does what? Talks about spendings. All right? So the only answer that can be correct here is B. Only spendings on final goods will be counted under expenditure approach. Okay? So what do we do? Our answer is what? Option B. Because the value-added method is used as an output method, so it's not the answer. Our next option here says the net national product, NNP, of a country is $50 million. Why the depreciation allowance is $10 million? The gross national product is what? What a technical but simple question that is. Right, so how do you go about it as a student? You know that GNP is gross national product. Okay? And it contains what? Some deductibles called depreciation. So when you take out depreciation from GNP, you get what? You get net NNP. So in this case, you have to return back the depreciation into NNP to give you what? GNP. So what do? We add 10 million to what? 50 million to give us 60 million. So our answer is what? Is option C, which says 60 million to give us GNP. Okay, the price level, that's question 35 now. The price level and the value of money are what? What kind of relationship exists between them? The relationship that exists between the price level and the value of money is what? Let's hear it. Are they inversely related? Are they directly related? Are they not related? Are they positively related? The value of money is affected by price level negatively. All right? When price goes up, money loses more value. When price comes down, money gains value. So that what? They move in opposite direction. So it's inversely what? Related. Question 36. Money is able to function more as a medium of exchange under what condition as listed out here? Money functions more as a medium of exchange when what happens? A, is when more people engage in subsistence production? Or is it when there is a fall in production? Or is it when there is specialization of labor? Is it when individuals and nations are self-sufficient? Under what condition will money function more as a medium of exchange more efficiently? It's not number one, or it's not A, because when they engage in subsistence farming, they can do what? They can feed themselves. No need for exchange with money. When production falls, money loses value because of scarcity, and inflation will set in. When individuals and nations are self-sufficient, they don't need to exchange with anybody, so money loses value too. All right? So, but when there's specialization, there will be increase in output and quality of goods being improved upon, and consumer will desire to buy more quality goods at a cheaper price. So in this case, it is when there is specialization of labor that money becomes more functional as an exchange, a medium of exchange. So our answer is number C, or option C. Again, number 37. An indication that there is an inflation in a country is when what happened? All right? It says an indication that there's an inflation in a country is that A, that there is a decrease in the demand for goods and services. Is that the case? Or is it that there are too many goods in circulation? Is that when you have a problem with inflation? Or is it when the same amount of money buys lower quantity of goods? Or that when people prefer to lend than to borrow? The only answer that is correct here happens to be C. In this case, the same amount of money that you normally used to buy an item before can now buy you lower quantity of that same quantity good. That becomes inflation. All right. You can imagine in the last 1 year, our money has lost value more than 100 times over. What you normally buy 1,000 before should be 3,000 or more right now. So that's what we mean. The same amount of money can be able to afford to you what you can buy with it before. You can only buy you lesser amount of quantity of that product. That is a case of inflation. Okay, question 38 says, the most liquid asset among the following is what? Now let's look at it. Liquid assets are assets of a business that can easily be converted to money. All right? When you see it that way, any of these that can easily be converted into money is called the most liquid asset or liquid asset. In fact, current assets in general are termed to be assets that can easily be converted into cash or money. So I've given you the answer. So among these following options, the most liquid asset is what? Is cash. It's not shares, it's not bonds, all right? It's not check, but what? Cash. So the answer is option C. Question 39. The commercial banks helps in economic development mainly by what means? Which of these options explains how the commercial banks help in economic development? Option A says they do so by acting as intermediaries between government and borrowers. Government bank does not give loans. That's central bank, so that's off. B, giving financial advice to the government. It doesn't really make any strong argument for that. They can do that, but it's done mostly by central bank. All right, so C, is it by acting as trustees and executors of wills? These are done for the customers that they have, or is it by serving as custodians of valuables? Our answer here, the most correct here, is option D. Banks do what? Banks are involved in, especially commercial banks, all right, are involved in collection of valuables and cash and valuables of different kinds, safekeep it, as well as release it when the owners come. At the same time, make available loans and other things to other people who want to use them, assets, to carry out other business activities, just like the goldsmith did. Just like the goldsmith did. So the goldsmith made available items that aid other people's welfare, right? Even though they are not the owners, they took it on loan and returned it back to them. So the banks are when they serve as custodian of valuables that can be spread across the needy and their owners. It helps what? To encourage economic development. So that is how they act as agent of development by carrying out this activity. Taxes on goods and services by government are called what? When government levies tax on goods and services, is a very simple one. They are called what? Indirect taxes. Okay? Tax levied on goods and services are what? Are called direct taxes. Direct taxes in this case, is meant to be what? Taxes levied on the incomes of individuals and profits of corporate bodies. All right? Indirect taxes are taxes that are levied on the goods and services that we purchase and consume. So it is what? Our answer in this case is indirect taxes, not direct taxes. Because direct taxes are what? Are levied on personnel, businesses and their profits, as well as individuals who earn income. So, but for indirect taxes, all right, they are levied on goods and services that we consume. So our answer is what? Is indirect taxes, okay? Now, not poll tax, of course. Poll tax is an example of direct tax. Corporate tax as well as direct tax are what? Examples of what? Direct tax. So the only correct answer here is what? Is indirect taxes, all right? Now that question here, number 41, says that the use the graph below to answer the questions that goes after it. Now it says that the curve labeled W shows the dash. The curve that is labeled W shows dash. These are tax curves, all right? Tax systems curves. We have three types of tax systems. We have the progressive tax system, the regressive tax system, and the proportional tax system. So each of these three graphs represents each of these types of tax system. Which one of them is labeled W? For a simple understanding of these curves, I will tell you that anytime you see these curves and it's talking about tax, all right, remember what I'm going to say now, that the progressive tax system has the same nature or curve as the supply curve. It slopes upward from bottom left to top right. That's what is a progressive tax system, which says the higher income, the higher tax rate. Okay, the more you earn, the more you pay tax. Why? The regressive tax system takes the form of a demand curve, a curve sloping downward from top left to bottom right. That's the regressive tax system. Why the proportional tax system is that of a perfectly elastic demand curve, all right, which is a horizontal line from the price line or the tax line. So it's proportional, that is flat rate tax. Okay, yes. So which of them is the correct answer? The one labeled W shows the progressive tax system. which is an upward sloping curve from bottom left toward top right. Progressive tax system is our answer. Now, an example of government's recurrent expenditure is what? When you talk about recurrent expenditure, you're talking about expenditures that happen regularly, that are expended on regular basis. It could be daily, it could be weekly, it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, it could be yearly, but it comes regularly, or it takes place regularly. Okay? Which of them is the most correct as recurrent expenditure? A, the cost of building a school. Does it happen regularly? No, it doesn't. B, paying salaries of workers. Does it happen regularly? Yes, it does. C, purchase of new vehicles. You don't buy vehicles every month. You don't buy vehicles every quarter of a year. Most times you don't buy a vehicle every year, depending on what you use it for. Again, is it electrification of project in rural areas? It happens once in a lifetime in most cases. So yes, the answer is what? Is B, paying salaries of workers on monthly basis. Question 43, it says, a country is described as developing if what is the case? A country is called developing under what circumstances? A, that the population is decreasing. B, that if there is a low labor supply. C, if the contribution of tertiary service sector is to the national income is high, or that D, that the income per head is low. It is not option A because it's wrong. Population cannot decrease to make it a green economy. Then labor force supply is low. That's not true. That the contribution of a tertiary sector is high. That's a big lie. The only correct answer here is option D. It is when the income per head is low. That country is seen as developing. All right? Correct. Tariffs, quotas, and embargoes are examples of what? These are terminologies that are used in international trade. Okay? So what does it mean? It represents a restriction or a control on international trade traffic within a country and the rest of the world. Okay, so in this case, it's called what? Trade restrictions policies. So answer is what? Option B. Question number 45 says, trade protections or trade protection will assist economic growth in developing countries if it can do what? How will it support growth in developing country? Out of this option is the correct one. Let's see. A, is it when it eliminates importation of all commodities? Or is it when it can generate enough revenue through export duties? Or is it when it can effectively safeguard newly established firms? Or is it when it can allow the importation of cheaper goods for people's want? Which of them is a scenario that will encourage or promote economic growth in developing countries? The only correct answer here is what? When it can effectively protect newly established firms to be able to also grow, all right, and become contributory towards the nation's wealth and welfare. Our next question is question 46. Here it says, a government may cause a favorable change in her invisible trade account by what? Under what condition would a government cause a favorable change in her invisible trade account? The options to have are A, increase in the export of her primary products. B, is it by imposing high tariffs on exports? C, is it by developing tourism and other services? D, is it by encouraging people to go for medical treatment abroad? So this invisible trade deals with what? Service-related trade. And from the options we have, tourism is service, and then including other services like warehousing and so on. So if you want to make a change, a positive change in the visible trade account, you must develop what? Tourism and other services related business activities to increase earning from them. Answer is option C. 47. Please pay attention carefully. It says, country M enjoys absolute advantage over country N in the production of commodity X and Y. If commodity M can do what? When will country M enjoy absolute advantage over country N? A, is it when it can produce only commodity Y cheaper than country N? Or when it is more efficient than country N in producing both commodity X and commodity Y? Or is it when country M is inefficient in the production of both commodity X and Y? Or is it when country M and country N are efficient in the production of both goods? Well, in this case, the answer has exposed itself. It is when country N is more efficient than country N in producing both goods. All right? Country N becomes what? They now assumes or have or enjoy absolute advantage over country N. Okay? Our next question is question 48, and it says, which of the following is not a problem facing Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS? Which of these is not a problem for them? There are a lot of problems that they face, but one of these following is not among them. Number one is language barrier is a problem. Language barrier, how the Anglophone, the Francophone, and the Portuguese, Portuguese, all right? So this language barrier also causes problem for mutual understanding and easy trade between them. Is it production of the same good? It's a problem because you won't sell to my market what I produce in my own country, the same thing you're producing in your own country. I will not allow you to make my own products, maybe not to sell or have issues, or to polarize the production of that product in my own country. Then you have, is it poor transportation and communication? It's a problem as well. It affects businesses negatively. Now, is it an inadequate supply of labor? This is the answer because we are even talking about overpopulation in most of these countries, okay? They are overpopulated, that is, population is growing beyond the resources available for them to use. So it's what? It's D. It's not a problem because they have excess supply of what? Labor. Okay? That's our answer. Question 49, it says, assisting members to solve temporary balance of payment problems is the reason for the establishment of the dash. Without wasting your time, we have these banks, we have the IMF, we have the World Bank, we have the African Development Bank, we have the Economic Commission for Africa. These organizations are established at one point in time to solve a problem that has come upon the world at one time or the other, especially after the World War. And so the one that was meant to help solve the problem of imbalance in the balance of payments is the International Monetary Fund, IMF. It's not the World Bank, it's called IBRD. It's not African Development Bank because it's not talking about the world. So the answer is what? B. International Monetary Fund is responsible for helping countries to balance up their balance of payment deficits. The last question on this list, Question 50 says, which of the following is a non-renewable natural resources? Which one is a non-renewable natural resources? Cocoa is renewable because you keep harvesting from the stalk or the plant. Oil palm also renewable. Coal is mined from the ground. It doesn't renew. And rubber is also a plant which can regrow. So the answer is what? Option C. At this point, I want to thank you for your attention and listenership. I'm sure that with this exercise, you are properly guided. You can actually review continuously and check questions under the topics I've actually given to you before now. By this regular practice and reviews, you will come acquainted with these questions and the answers. Don't forget you can use your textbooks as well. Just lay your hands on relevant materials that will help you enrich yourself with the knowledge of economics as you prepare towards the exams. I wish you the best of luck as you prepare.